Greetings, true believers, and welcome to Graders Notes, the series where we take a look at back some of the quote-unquote greatest comics of all time and give them the Graders Note dissection treatment. I'm joined today by my merry cast of compadres here. Hold on a second, I got sound coming through. And we're going to take apart Avengers number 273. It's not a key or anything, but I actually got this book sent to me in an AOK. I'm sorry, I don't remember who it was. I had several of them in the last year. But the book intrigued me, so I thought we'd go over it. So once again, I don't think my compadres need any introduction, but they are so great, I have to introduce them anyway. So first off, to my right, your left, or wherever that is, we have the imitable Metarog. Metarog, how we doing this fine day?
Oh, I'm very blessed, man, and great to be with my buddies here on Graders Notes, where we dissect, where we eviscerate, where we deconstruct. I can't wait to get into this one.
All right, good times, good times. It was kind of an odd book, but I'm not really much of an Avengers guy, too, so I wanted to get a little bit out of my comfort zone. So I'd never actually read this book before, so I kind of went in blind, which is fun. So below that, but not below that in comic astuteness and or charm, we have none other than Dave, Mr. Miracle from the Great White North. How we doing this fine day?
I am doing quite well, thank you. Just talking about how I was enjoying the painting that you sent me. And again, thank you so much for that. If anybody wants to take a look at it, it's on my Instagram page, or I did an unboxing video, and you can take a look at Dave's page. Got lots of positive comments about that, dude. You did such a stellar job. If everybody doesn't know, Dave is quite an adept landscape painter, and he sent me one, and I appreciate it. But going back to this book, I've always felt that this sort of era of Avengers was underappreciated. So I was pretty happy when you brought this one up as the pick. And I'm looking forward to getting diving into this book here, letting everybody else have an opinion.
Yeah, there were some good names inside this book, too. I didn't realize that when I opened it up. So anything with editing by Grunwald is going to be awesome. Anyway, moving on to the last, but certainly not least member of this astute bunch, we have none other than Kenny Comic at 84. How we doing this fine day?
Hello, Genome, good sir, and panel. The Graders Notes crew has assembled, and we're here to bring you the raw, uncut report on Avengers 273. Thank you for joining, everyone.
We pull no punches on the show, and we try to be mostly objective. We try not to fanboy out too much, and we've eviscerated some books that are just loved in the lexicon, so no book is safe from Graders Notes. So real quick, before we go ahead and get into our books tonight, Magic Lasso stopped by earlier, but he's going to go watch Gal Gadot. He'd rather watch her for whatever reason over us, so enjoy that. We'll catch you on the rewind. Jackson Roycork is in here, and he is what Roger calls... he's been susceptible to the genome curse, and that's when you order the book directly after a show and it still doesn't get there in 2 weeks. So sorry you couldn't have it join it with us.
Jackson.
We'll take you through it today. Ranger Sly coming in hot from Canada as well. I think he said Montreal he's from. So welcome. Patrick Roy forever, baby. So let's see. Hockey fans will know that one. But let's see. Jackson, who else do we got in here? I got way behind on chat. Have Cheetah will view what's going on. Greetings from the Paladin owner himself. We'll see you tomorrow night, too. Freaky Louie is here. The 25 anniversary covers. The whole portrait series was kind of wacky, wasn't it? All the cross-platform platforms to do. We got Jay in the house. Welcome, welcome. My buddy, we'll see him tomorrow night when we do our live stream, Friday Night Hangouts. Matt Woods is in the house, too. Good to see you. Good to see you. He informed me today that our slab collab is still sitting in the CGC shelf somewhere. So it could be a little while before we see Secret Wars 8 come back. Dude with a Bandana coming in hot also from the land of Fallout. Good to see you. Good to see you. Dude with Bandana has a fledgling YouTube channel. I think he had around 13 or 14 subs last time. So if anyone wants to go over and throw him a sub, I'm sure he'd appreciate it. Who else do I miss here? I think I've comics on the mind. Haven't seen you in a little while. How's going on? Good to see you. Good to see you. All right. And just in time, we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. So unless you gentlemen have anything else to talk about, we're going to go in right into the cover, which is the first category what we always start with. And this series is very much exemplified by the covers. Who's going to start tonight? Let's start with Roger, age before the rest of us beautiful people. So once again, for the chat, if you're just now coming in, we grade everything on a 1 through 5 scale with a 0.5 in between. So if MF90 comes in, no 90 grades will be accepted and no 0.25s. So Roger, without further ado, let us know what you think about this cover.
Well, let me first show this very, very interesting cover. Like you said, and what was said in the chat, the 25th anniversary covers for this 1 month. I think all, if not the vast majority of Marvel covers, even like the Star Comics and Marvel Age, things like that, had this border with a lot of the Marvel characters. You can see the Fantastic Four kind of bundled together, the Avengers, X-Men, X-Factor, etc., etc. Almost an homage to the picture frame era there of sorts back in the 70s. And usually you would have the protagonist in the center. But of course, when a team book, they have to choose somebody, right? And in this case, they chose the Black Knight, and I'm actually pretty glad about that. I'll tell you why in a bit, right? The Avengers being, such a diverse team at this point, their numbers changed about every 3 or 4 issues. I mean, some left, some came in, some were guest starred, et cetera, et cetera. And the Black Knight was not one of those that was a long-time Avenger. He was way back in the 60s, and then there was a long gap. But he's always been, to me, a really a good-looking, for lack of a better term, Avenger, okay? He harkens back to the Knights of old. He has a code, which, harkens back to, treating ladies as ladies and to speak, without rudeness, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, which, something which I kind of like, But the drawing itself, I think, is incredibly well. Buscema here, obviously. Man, what a detail. Look at that face. It almost looks picture quality, the little cross-hatching, the shading here on the visor part, and on that one little wing here down the middle, the little reflection here off. It tells you obviously the luster of the helmet, and his expression is kind of it's inconclusive, right? I mean, he looks a little bit maudlin there, but when you read the comic, you can sort of tell, or you can sort of see why that is. Normally, I don't like comic covers that don't give you any kind of hint or any kind of portent to what's to come. But again, this one we have to grade a little differently because they were all this way for this month. And back then, now it's commonplace to see this kind of, posing and portrait, things like that. But back then it was not a common thing to have just a figure like this on a cover. So it was something which was really cool. I really like the chainmail here, the little purple chainmail, just really good detail throughout. I'm sure you guys are going to be dissecting this a little better, so I'm not going to go on and on about every little detail. But to me, if nothing else, it certainly is a striking cover. It certainly is a different cover for the time. And again, Buscema, I think Romita looks like did some inking here as well. Really striking, really face and just a kind of torso here of the Black Knight. I give it a 4. I think it's really well done. Not perfect, again, just because more of the concept of it is not to my liking, but the actual drawing with the detail, really good detail, is really spectacular. So 4 all the way for me.
All right, 4 it is, coming in strong with Metarog. So speaking of coming in strong, we're going to have to go with the guy who's probably sketching his little mind out right now. And he's got that Canadian Yukon strong, right? So
yeah, we're going to get a Black Knight tonight? Huh?
Yeah, possibly. Oh, I always like these surprise drawings. So Dave, what was your opinion on this cover? Did it do it for you, or you prefer the more action-oriented to scenes? Let's say you, sir.
And
You're muted.
Yeah, unmute yourself, bud.
There you go. That's it. Right. That way, I always mute myself so you can't hear me digging through my pencil box. So let's take a look at this cover. Like it is a well-rendered portrait, right? Like John Buscema, he's probably practiced portraits a bazillion times, right? Now, if you know anything about this kind of month, they had sort of a continuity with all of these issues where they would have like a portrait or just like a one shot of the character that was in the book. I think it was a smart play considering like how big this Marvel border is on here, It's literally taking up about an inch on each side, right? So you're losing quite a bit. You're probably losing about a good 25% or so of your picture area of your cover. You know what I mean? 25, 30% of that. So you can't put in your renowned John Buscema action pose because the room's not there, right? Plus, this has got a lot of action going on too, which is going to draw away from that. So, really smart play, I think, to go the opposite way and do a portrait with no action, like just kind of show off some skills. Fits in here real nice with that black background with him, black on black, which is, I think it was a smart play of Buscema. I do find the shading a little bit off, right? Like you can tell, I'm not sure if Buscema colored this or not. Like obviously he probably didn't color it. It was probably the interior color artist that did the coloring for the cover as well. And you can see where he's cross-hatched in his more fine art style to this portrait, right? This is cake for him. He's obviously going to flex a little bit and show his artistic muscles. And then she went over it, or they went over it with like a kind of a muddy-ish gray, like grayed up all that cross-hatching. And I think it kind of muddied it down to kind of detract for it, especially here in the eyeball. If you're going to make, I know one thing, if you're going to make like shading on gold, you use brown. You don't use black. It looks weird. But really well rendered drawing. Like the little starburst past his head there. That's a nice little effect that got put in there. That glint. And yeah, this treatment on the outside, I know all the comics did celebrating, that 25th anniversary deal. But yeah, I thought it was okay. It didn't really draw me in all that much as a cover. And yeah, like now we see it as, this big, all these different connected covers that are just portraits. Like recently all those Alex Ross ones that came out. Oh, excuse me. But that was kind of a new idea to do back in this day here, right? Back in 1986. That was definitely something we didn't see all the time. So a little bit of props for being unique, but I thought it was mainly serviceable. A little bit better, like I said, because it is John Buscema, and he did do a nice rendering of the portrait, so I gave it a 3.
All right, 3 it is. Let me get your grades recorded for posterity here.
By the way, Miracle, the chat is demanding the name of your kitty cat.
Oh yeah, sure. But my little buddy's name is Jammer, right? My wife plays roller derby, and Jammer is one of the positions on a roller derby team, and so that's how he got his name, right? I used to referee women's flat track roller derby. It's kind of how I met my wife, and we got the cat just after we met. So
wasn't there like a C-lister comic character, Starjammer? Wasn't there? I seem to remember a character like that too.
That was a team. That was a team.
Starjammers.
Yeah.
I thought there was a character. I could be wrong on that. It's been a while. Let's see where we got. Trenchy's in the house. What's going on? Welcome to the stream. Anyone else new come in? I missed. I think that was it. Grades will be coming up here shortly for the chat, so stay tuned. So, Kenneth, my friend, what did you think about this portrait cover? Did Buscema hit it out of the park, or was he simply bunting on this one?
Yeah. Well, so I agree with a couple things that have been said thus far. I do agree that the Black Knight is a cool character and a very cool designed and cool looking character, like Roger said. I always have like a little bit of a soft spot for like the cool B, maybe C list characters, and I kind of become fans of them. I think Black Knight falls in there, guys like Night Thrasher, the B, C list Batman villains. So I dig seeing the Black Knight get a little shine. So good choice with a team book. You had to make a choice, and I'm glad it was Black Knight. I do also agree it's very well rendered overall. John Buscema, of course, he's going to be on top of his game when it comes to the rendering. I have a couple beefs with some of it. Miracle was talking about the shading on the helmet, and the part that, like, once I started seeing it, I can't unsee it, and I feel like the the cross hatching that's done here on this side of the helmet, it's too drastic compared to the yellow on this side of the helmet. Like, you go to so many cross hatches and lines and things, and there's just literally nothing on this side. It's just solid, flat yellow. And I feel like the other side, even though I understand that's where your light's shining and you're not trying to add shade to it, it should get some render lines. Like, you needed to put a couple lines in there. The flatness of that yellow just stands out to me, and I thought that was weird too. It took a little bit of the realistic portrait rendering style that he's going for, a little bit of a missed opportunity here on that side. And once I noticed that, I can't unsee it well. It just stands out from the rest of the helmet. Other than that, well executed. I'm not a big fan of the pose. It's the emotion, again, is tough to read. I would have preferred a little more, maybe determination, anger, something. It looks like he's in line at the grocery store or something, just like chilling, like just waiting for his turn to cash out, in line. So I would have preferred a little more emotion in that pose. I always thought that the anniversary border thing was a pretty cool novelty, having creating the picture frame. I like it, don't love it. There's some that I like, that I feel like the art matched, just fit the frame better. Like, my favorites that come to mind is like the black suit Spider-Man one. I think he's like upside down in the black suit on the Wolverine one is cool. For some reason, I don't know, this one doesn't strike me as one of the better ones, but overall, I'm a fan of the anniversary portrait. I think it's fun to have all the little, so many little characters that you can kind of pay attention to on the cover. And lastly, the trade dress on this era of Avengers, I've always thought was kind of bland. The color scheme is really not one of my favorites. I mean, light gray with yellow, with, I guess, orange or red stroke around the letters is, I think, not a very appealing color match, those three together. So not a big fan of the trade dress on this, but I love the corner box. Really cool assembly of characters in there with the red, white, and, well, maybe not red, but the blue and white stars behind them, I think, is a cool, it's America's team, brother. So overall, I think it was good. Well executed, pretty cool novelty for the anniversary thing. But I have some gripes with it, and I didn't love it. It's above average. I landed on a 3 as well.
All right, 3 coming in from Kenny. And we had some other stuff there. Trench, you don't worry about it. Grading comics here is very subjective in this show. It doesn't mean anything what we're doing. But the most important grade is coming up as soon as I get done rambling on. That would be the chat grade. So we'll talk about that in a minute.
Practice tonight.
Yeah, but you might learn some terminology. It'd be kind of cool. I'm always learning this stuff. And you might learn about some really good artists out there, because a lot of people mistakenly believe that comics are for kids, right? If you're from the older generation, and it's anything further from the truth. These are all pro artists out there, and they can do exceptional things, and comic books deserve a lot of shine when it comes to that. Let's see. I think, Jackson, I really think that this, the whole portrait series they were doing there, anniversary series, is kind of set up like the presidential paintings, always stern, kind of not overly emotional. I think that was kind of what they were going for, because even Cap did have a kind of a smile. Zach said, "The hell with that, I'm putting a smile on Cap." But other than that, they were all kind of like that, weren't they? This was my favorite. Yeah, you got good chase. That's why, Ranger. It was a good one. So Cap looks pretty happy. Yeah, I was going to say, you beat me to it there, Roger. So, but anyway, enough about me rambling there. Okay, so this cover, let's see if I'm going to break up my green screen off of this. Yep, I'm going to have to. Give me 1 second. Hold on. You go over there. You go over there. You go over there. So you have to deal with the green background here just for a moment. Okay, So this cover, first off, I'm usually not a fan of like just static pose covers. I usually think it's lazy. I usually want to see some kind of action or storytelling going on there. But in this series, I can definitely give them a break. It was kind of interesting. They always use the same kind of border here with the characters, which is a cool concept. I'm not sure how much I like it because, I don't know, it makes the cover very busy. And I think they would have been better suited probably just with having a complete portrait cover. And it would look more grown up. And I don't know, just a little less busy. So all that extra color on, against someone like Black Knight is a little bit distracting, I guess you could say. Okay, right. The trade dress is a little bit bland. I do like how the A connects with the S. That's kind of nice. But let's get down to what we really need to talk about. And that's Big John working on a gigantic Black Knight. And I have a tiny little gripe with this cover. The shading is a little bit different, but it's kind of cool because it wasn't done with ink. I think it was just all done with pencil. So that's a lot of shading to do with just pencil strokes and all that. So I really dig that. I don't think the inking was done until he got to his neck and below, and maybe on his helmet. But there's a little bit of asymmetry here in his eyepieces. It's tough to manage when you're doing around a curve, but it does catch my eye as being a little bit off. And helmets are generally symmetrical, right? Things like collars and all that are supposed to be off symmetry to make it look more natural, but a helmet should be pretty uniform, and there's a bit of an issue there. There's not too much I don't like about it. I love the look of him. I like the pose. I like it. Kind of fits his character too, him being a little more dour, right, and introspective. I dig it. The character does have an interesting design. Looks like a cross between a Kree and one of the knights from Monty Python sketch, right? So pretty cool. He even went as far as to give him his scale mail kind of hauberk underneath, which is a nice touch. But what catches me the most about this stupid thing is this reflection. I'm not sure if it's going to focus in on it, but there it is. So if you look at this reflection right here, he didn't just lazy out and put freaking light on there, right? You can see that it's like a matte kind of helmet, right? It's not perfectly smooth, like it won't be, I really dig details like that, and John could throw them out there. All these little lines he put on the freaking, I don't know what you call this piece. So the piece of the helmet there, a lot of work, extra work there. You got to break out the tools for that, and then he even put the lines on the side and the earpieces, right? So very nice little touches he does. That's John. He can't do bad work. Well, like I said, he could have just made a shine like on that side with no texturing, but he actually textured this portion of the helmet and gives it real presence, man. And I really dig on it. The background drop's a little bit interesting. I'm not sure what's going on with that, but I kind of like it, actually. It's like black bleeding out to red or red bleeding up to black, whatever order it's going in. I kind of like it. It gives it a little something. Instead of just having a plain background, it does. It makes it pop a little more, but good expression. And I like how he's looking at the viewer. It's not a straight on look. He's cutting his eyes to the side a little bit. And he's like, what's this reader getting to do? Is this grubby kid going to be putting his dirty hands all over my book? Is that what he's doing? But whatever the case may be, I dig it. I like it. It's not usually my kind of thing, but then again, it is Big John, so what's not to love? So I gave it a 4. Actually, rated really high compared to it. And it is one of my favorite of the portrait series that they did. So 4 it is. Let me get this down here.
You have good taste, my friend. What can I say?
Hey, what can I say? Well, not to blow my own horn or anything, but yeah, I have a great taste. So let me get this going again here. And back over here. And okay, so that is it for us. So what say you, chat? Throw your grades down there in the chat. Remember, it is a 1 through 5 grade with 0.5 in between. And let us know what you think of this cover. And in the meantime, we'll do a little rapping among ourselves before we tally the score.
They were asking in the chat, and I don't really know for sure who did the border art on the covers.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, because I think it was the same for all of them, wasn't it?
It was the same. That's correct.
Yeah.
I honestly think it was. I want to say Zek, because some of these characters look very Zek-like.
The Wolverine looks Zek to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I didn't like what we did with Wolverine's claws, but a lot of the characters do look very Zek-like, I'd say.
But there are some which
are
not classic Zek either. So I can't say it for certain. But if it was my guess, I'd say Zek. Yeah.
So yeah, that's. You think Jim Shooter did those?
Maybe.
Shooter did draw. Shooter did draw several issues for Marvel.
He was right. He was still working there then.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's still in the heyday now, right?
I just got confirmation.
He was editor-in-chief. Yeah.
All the borders were done by And someone I think shouted out in the chat. I don't know if it was Ranger Sly.
Ramita Senior.
Ramita Senior. Yes.
Wow.
Ranger Sly was correct.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
for sure.
Ranger
Look at
Sly.
that Hulk. Look at
Yeah.
that Hulk again, for sure.
Yeah.
If it had been Ramita Junior, Wolverine would be about twice as wide. He'd been about
Yeah.
over here.
Nice wide nose.
Yeah. 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 Some of the faces didn't look like Zek to me, so I didn't. But that was, the Wolverine was the only one that looked Zeki to me. But that's a good guess there, Ranger. Wow.
Well done, Ranger. The man's got
Absolutely.
talent, not just in Fallout watching either. Huh?
Yeah. Well, that's
Considering limit settings covered 4.5. Well done. There's been very few fives put out in this show, by the way, even by us fanboys. Reminds me of a Secret Wars cover. Yeah, it does definitely got a Secret Wars vibe to it, doesn't it, with all the characters on there. And it's got Monica Rambeau in there too, which is Secret Wars as well. So
yeah, this is right after Secret Wars 2. So yeah, it kind of makes sense. Yeah.
you got that right, Matt. There are two types of artists in this world: John Buscema and those who wish they were John Buscema.
That was,
Fair enough.
Hard to argue with that.
He's obviously in the JD school of artists.
Yeah.
What I would
Me
give to
too.
see some video of him
love
working.
Buscema.
All right, so we'll give you about 30 more seconds to get your grades in if you haven't already. Let your voice be heard. Does someone else want to run the abacus tonight, or you want me to do it?
If,
Don't mind, Kenny.
If you could read off the numbers to me, that would be helpful.
I certainly will. And I won't say names in front of them. That makes it less confusing that way. So, all right, I think we have everybody in, and let's go ahead and get it going. So, starting with the first one, we have a 4. We got a 2.5. We have a 3. We have another 3. We got a 5. Well done. We got a 4. We got a 3. We got a 4.5. And we got a 3.5. And I think that's the last one.
I think it's going to hit right around 3.5 based on what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
3.5 it is.
3.5. Excellent taste,
You
Jack.
don't need all that stuff. You just
All
The
that
man's a human abacus.
it's all up here, man.
All right, 3.5. So pretty solid chat grade. Did see a 5 in there from Patrick too. So man, likes Buscema work. What's that?
Nice. Yeah, I was wondering who dropped the 5.
Yep, that was Patrick. Half Cheetah Will Travel. So all right. So first portion is down the cover. So I'm going to break with tradition a little bit, and we're going to talk about the story next. Who wants to talk about art right away? Because we're Buscema highs in it. You got to come down a little bit, right, to give it a more objective grade. So let's see. Who's going to start this time? Dave, let's talk about the story within. How was the writing there withouts?
Okay, man, we've had lots of wordy comic books on here, and this is one of them. But the pacing of this book, I was reading through all that dialogue. The dialogue was so good, not cheesy, made sense, had a whole point to it. So it was very much pushing the reader through this wordy issue. Like, bring out the B-list, right? Like, the story is about these B-list villains and how they're like getting together to make some villainous plots, right? So a lot of this book is the villains expounding about what they're going to do and how they're trying to put together a little team of their own, right? And so they talk a lot, right? And there's a lot of finger pointing and backstabbing because they're villains, and that's all talking. And then there's speeches and there's talking. But it's just the dialogue is so smooth and so well done. And then the story moves around at such a good pace. Like, there's all these little side stories that just give you a little breath for a second, and then you're back into the main plot, and then a little breath, and then you're back in the main plot. And the book literally finished right when I was feeling like I wanted it to finish. Like, okay, I'm, just about getting tired of, I can wait another month for my next issue, and boom, it ended, right? And loved it, right? I think in those kind of terms, this is one of the best books that we've reviewed on Graders Notes since I started with it, right? It's very well written, very well edited. Like I said, the dialogue is not cheesy. The characters are making sense in all of their actions and what they're doing and their plots. Their interactions with each other seem real and relevant to what's going on into the book. It's not just some weird aside stuff. There's little tricks and twists that are subplots of the story So as comic book writing goes, this is top notch, man. I gave it a 5.
Wow.
Wow, we got a 5 in here.
Wow.
And this kind of goes in as an aside too. Some people think that every time a comic written, the only time you ever get a 5 is some gigantic story. You know, the death of Superman had to be written perfectly, or, you know, whatever, some huge event. Sometimes a comic book needs to be written like that Punisher War Journal number 14, whatever we did a while ago. It needs to be brisk, to the point, have a good self-contained story, but one to make you read more, and they can be great. I mean, nothing issue can be great. So good score there, Miracle. Good score. So Kenneth, my friend, do you concur on the great score of this book? What say you, sir?
5, yeah. Miracles says this is a literary masterpiece. Well, I don't know if I'd go that far. But
Yeah, offer a different opinion.
I know where he's coming from, though. That's for sure, because I thoroughly enjoyed the story. It's a story that I grew to appreciate the more I got into it. Because as I'm starting it, it's just a lot of little side plots that don't really seem connected. Like, why am I watching or reading about Hercules hanging out at a bar, and then we cut to the Masters of Evil. I'm like, okay, and you slowly start to pick up on that this is a Zemo issue. The main character of the issue is Zemo, and you know, him managing the team and the different personalities of his team, and you know, you're cutting to little side stories of all of the Avengers, but none of it's really connected to any kind of action. And then I starts to piece together that that's deliberate. They're giving you a random Hercules at the bar, Captain Marvel going to Paris to relax, the Wasp and Black Knight at like some kind of red carpet type of event. And at face value, you might say, why do I want to, this is the Avengers, why do I want to read about Captain Marvel chilling in Paris and, you know, the Wasp and Black Knight going to a red carpet event? But they're laying down the foundation of Zemo's plotting to raid Avengers Mansion while the Avengers are away, you know, and that really starts to like crystallize towards as you get further into the issue. And I thought that was really cool. It made sense why we were checking in on the characters before. I do agree that a lot of the banter was great. I think there was room to trim a little fat on some of the dialogue. I felt like some sections got a little wordy, and it's like, all right, I get it. A lot of characters to account for. Like Zemo was rolling deep, so everyone is coming out to play and joining this Masters of Evil team. And you know, I think certain characters probably didn't even need speaking roles. You know, they kind of check in on this guy and that guy. And maybe that could have been streamlined a little bit. But yeah, it was good. You're watching Zemo plotting, dealing with frustrations of loyalty among the team. And, you know, I guess the only thing is like it builds up like he's creating or he's working on like his special weapon, which ends up being I forget the guy's name. I've never really seen him before. Blackout. Like he's integral to raiding the mansion, but they really just roll up and muscle their way into the mansion. It didn't really require any special kind of power to boot the door in and smack Jarvis around and tie him up, you know. So I was hoping maybe the plan would be a little more elaborate other than let's just kick the door in while the Avengers are away. So I was hoping for maybe something a little more intricate as far as how they raided the mansion and stuff like that. But I also agreed. It's funny. I had the same thought of it ended right when I wanted it to. I was like, okay, I get it, because it is wordy. It's not bad writing for the most part, but it's a little wordy, and it ended right when I was like, okay, good, I get it. I'm done with the story for now. Enjoyable, had humorous moments, just enough action, you know, to make it a good time. I landed on a 4. 4.
Landed on a
Good
4-4.
start.
Yeah, 4 is a good score.
It's a fun read.
Better than the average score we give around here, so for sure.
I think that like that secret weapon that he's talking about kind of come more to fruition in the next episode. Like, sure, they got their hands on the Avengers mansion, but can they hold on to it? Right?
Yeah, fair enough.
All right, that'll bring me up next. So, what do I think about the story of this? Hey, Sleepy Reader, what's going on? Good to see you. Glad you can make it tonight. And Ranger's making some great observations down there, by the way. So, the story of this book, is it a letdown from the cover? No, it's not. And for like a guy who's not a big Avengers fan, I was totally engrossed by this story. And why? Because the centerpiece finally in a book was about the villain. And he wasn't just some villain who is bad for bad's sake. This is a guy who's got to juggle a lot of different personalities. He's like a project manager. He's no longer just like the leader. Like, one thing about like Red Skull, before Zemo, of course, was that they usually wrote him pretty well. He was always a conniver. He was always a schemer, but he was very aloof, right? And he was very demanding. And in this one, Zemo takes a different approach. While he is, of course, the leader and the whole time, but he knows, how am I going to keep these people under control? He's a human being trying to control all these metahumans, right? All these bad metahumans have their own wants and desires, and he's got to figure out a way to use his brain to make them do his bidding, right? It's great, man. And it really gives him a lot of depth, because he's also worried that he could lose his grip at any moment. In fact, he's worried about basically, I can't remember her name, Moonbeam or whatever her name is right now, but her taking Moonstone. Thank you. I could not think of that for whatever. I'm thinking like hippie stuff. Where's Moondoggy and friggin' Gidget, right? He's always worried about her taking over. He's like, she's just biding her time to take my spot. So how do I keep these all in the crowd? It's a great story, and the Avengers are almost an afterthought, which I think was cool. I can dig on that. It sets up a big enemy for them to fight. And this is not to say the Avengers don't get some time to shine. We learned a lot about Monica Rambeau right there, right? They have this great little aside in there when she's testing out her powers around the moon. That's cool. She's not flying through the earth with her powers. She could destroy the earth, right? She doesn't know it. She didn't know how to use her powers, but she tested on the moon, which is a great idea. And then afterwards, she says, like, why am I not using my powers to relax a little bit? So she decides to head on over to France. And so she's sitting there ordering food. There's the really exciting stuff, right? Her ordering food in a French restaurant. But she's speaking in French because they allude that she grew up in New Orleans. And I was wondering if they were going to do that. And then finally you see it's in brackets and it says, translated from the French or whatever, so parlez-vous français, madame, as well, and all that good stuff. It was a great little piece like that. And there's like bits of that all through the book. Zemo is so smart. He knows exactly what to do to keep his henchmen working for him. He even mentions, because some of the stronger characters like Titania and all that, Mr. Hyde and all that, are getting pretty antsy because they don't have anything to do while Zemo's building his plans. Is like, well, my more physically oriented henchmen might need another project to work on to keep them settled down. So great bit of dialogue there. And it just shows you how much he is planning and scheming and how smart this guy is. It was, you're right about this, Kenny. It was a really big flame out. They just kicked the door in on Avengers Mansion and that was it. There was a little bit of a worry about Jarvis, though. It's like, because Hyde threatens to break his arm, like right off. Am I going to break both your arms or just one of them? And it's like, so you wait for the next panel to see if his arm actually got broke. So I was actually a little bit worried about Jarvis there. So good writing on that. And the story just flow. It is a little wordy at times. And but there was only one bit of dialogue in there that I thought was corny. And that was when the guy said, confound it or whatever like that, in a thought bubble. It's like, oh, come on, please, not that. But other than that, it was pretty good dialogue, natural. Zemo wasn't speaking out loud when he shouldn't have been. He always had a thought bubble going on, so that was nice.
Yes, key.
Yeah, man, because I know, and Kenny especially has railed on this in the past. It's like, why is he speaking out loud to himself, But I don't know, man. I really dug the story. I mean, there was a few things I didn't care for, but overall, actually, the story was the strongest part of this book for me, and that's saying something on a Buscema book. So I gave it a 4.5. I thought it was an excellent comic book story. Very self-contained, yet makes you want to read the next issue very much so, because they're setting up, obviously, what looks like a big battle. I always thought the Masters of Evil name was pretty stupid, though, and Zemo's too smart to name him like that, because bad guys don't think they're bad, right? So, but anyway, that was kind of a thing for the younger comic book readers, I guess, to know he's really bad. But great scheming villain, a great non-powered villain, controlling powered villains to basically his own scheming and mind and intelligence, and just a great bit of writing. And I gave it a 4.5. All right, Roger.
Nice.
You got some got some big grades to follow here. So what say you about the literary work within?
Wow. I mean, you guys did a fantastic job, by the way, of encapsulating what this is about. I got a few more little details to add, and then I'll give you my results here. But, Roger Stern's the writer here, by the way. And honestly, I was not a big fan of Stern. I mean, he did a good run on Spider-Man, which was okay, except for The Kid Who Collected Spider-Man, which is knocked it out of the park with that story. He's always been to me one of those kind of the middle of the run kind of writers. Never written a bad story, but never written a real opus either. Until this, right? Until he got to this part. Now he had been kind of setting it up because he had a pretty good several year run on the Avengers at this before and after this. And when I bought this run right off the stands, guys, I remember seeing the 25th anniversaries, and I bought a whole bunch of them. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And what surprised me here is the depth of this story and the details present here. Now, notice at the beginning that Hercules is in a bar and there's a bet going on. Now, if you know Hercules, he's a macho pride. There's no way he's going to not take a bet, right? So he was set up by Zemo and the Wrecker so that once he won the bet, he can start a conversation with him. And he found out information about which Avengers are around, who's off doing what, and that is all the intelligence gathered by the Zemo and his team. Brilliant stuff. The one part, like you said, besides rushing the gate, which was just kind of like tropish, was that he threw this guy out of the bar, through the window in the street. He hits the pavement maybe 30 feet away, and the guy just says, oh, well, I'm fine. I guess clean living. Well, Hercules should have known. It must be superhuman. I mean, this guy should have every bone in his body shattered, right? But anyway, those little details. And then you get like the dialogue between Moonstone and Zemo, and how she's like tacitly testing his leadership and what he's about and his weaknesses. Real psychological warfare there between the two. And you're right, Genome, that little aside with Captain Marvel at the moon and the detail of telling her, yeah, she was from Louisiana, which obviously they speak Creole, which is a form of French. And so she knew French. And then how he sets up a scenario with Mr. Hyde and I think it's Pile Driver so that he can sort of assuade Moonstone from thinking that he's weak. But actually, he might have powers over his mind. Actually, it was a sedative that he had. There's just misdirection everywhere here. And why do villains always fail, right? Because you have all these alpha personalities and they want to be the one in charge. But Zemo is able to sort of, corral them a little bit. Like you said, the ones that are more physically and more violent, he sort of gives them an outlet, right? By setting up that scenario and telling them, you're going to be able to defeat the Avengers, and that's not their end game. Then they're going to the Fantastic Four. So they're going to get rid of all the heroes so they can essentially just rule. So there's a lot of machinations here. The dialogue is just so crisp. The villains all talk differently, right? And there's just little nuances like at the bar. I love this part in the bar, guys, when he's like, obviously Hercules machismo, right? And then the guy's egging him. Oh, so you have to listen to the wasp, a woman. And then the bartender says, Ixnay, Ixnay. Too late. And then he throws the guy out the bar. So, those little details are just so cool. And then when the Wrecker is going into the Avengers mansion and they have these drones coming in, and there's a part where he says, yeah, here it is. Right here. It's the bleepity bleep stunulator. That's how Wrecker would talk. He would be, one of those guys who would curse, etc. Man, lots of good detail here. There's actually other things going on. He sent other teams around the world or around the United States to check on Captain America, and Spider-Man has a part in it, so make sure he doesn't interfere. Really complex plot here, little bitty holes here and there. But man, that dialogue, it's so beautiful. I can't give it a 5 just because it has those little bitty problems that could be a little tighter. But Stern, this was a magnus opus. Now, this is just the first issue where things are sort of coalescing. You have to read this whole story arc, guys. It is amazing. Really, just we always say that the Avengers, are misnamed because they never avenge anything. They do in this storyline. Read it. It is great. Not a 5, but a 4.5 all the way.
All right, 4.5 it is. Coming in hot. Yeah, though I think we all universally agreed pretty well there on the overall quality writing we found here. Oh, and Biggie is in the house. Welcome, Biggie. Good to see you. Good to see you. As always, a pleasure, sir. You're late, Graham. Yeah, the party doesn't start until you got that right. Graham's coming in hot, of course, from the UK, so appreciate that. It's 2 a.m. almost over there, so yeah, good time. So what say you, chat? Let your voice be heard and throw your grades out there. What did you think about the story within? If you've never read it before, I guess you can just kind of go by what we said, but I definitely recommend you read it. Go find it on Read Comics Online or something like that, and give it a gander for yourself, because we didn't go into all of it. There's a lot more in there, a lot more nuance too.
Don't give away any spoilers there, Ranger Sly.
Gray Man, did you get your AOK yet or what? Does that ever take long?
He mentioned the other day he hadn't received it yet. I came on one of my streams, and but I don't know. That was like 2 or 3 days ago. Yeah, it was funny because like at the very beginning too, like you were saying, when the guy takes a hit from Hercules and doesn't die. So Zemo picked the perfect operative because Wrecker is very, very powerful. Like he would trade blows with Thor a lot of times, right? So he could take it.
Crowbar, right?
Yeah, I don't know where his crowbar was, but. Yeah, so he knew he could take a hit from Hercules, so he sent the right henchman. Same thing when he had Goliath take a hit from Hyde to set up the friggin' machinations. So Moonbeam, or I keep calling Moonbeam, so Mooney there herself could see him like diffuse the situation. This is great stuff.
Yeah, the selection of the villains just fit perfectly with what he's trying to accomplish. Sometimes they're just, the editor saying, hey, you got to use this guy, you got to use it. No, this was a team assembled on purpose. And there's others, Operative, Whirlwind, Screaming Mimi, that have very specific roles. And just beautiful, really conceptualized beautifully by Stern.
All right.
Screaming Mimi. She's a hot character.
Well, I got 1 grade. Come on now. I'm going to make this a 4. Chat, let your voice be heard. This is your chance for a score. Of course, a lot of people haven't read this.
We know Ranger Sly read this, so he's got to give a grade here.
It makes it easy on Kenny, though, the keeper of the abacus. So, Screaming Mimi, yeah.
Not Screaming Meme, Screaming Mimi. M-I-M-I.
I'm liking this chat grade. 4. Sounds solid.
Oh, there goes Ranger. There goes Ranger. Oh, there goes Cheetah. Okay.
Best storyline, classic run by Roger Stern, yeah. So he agrees with you there, Dave. So I was close. There was just a few things that were my thing. Oh, now the grades are pouring in. Look at that.
Now Gray Man is the downer here.
Gray Man. Oh.
Yeah,
should be happy. The Black Knight. Actually, it's funny that Black Knight's on the cover. He's barely in this book. He's in like 3 panels in this book.
Yep.
A little bit of bait and switch on us there.
There's no Kirby in here, so
Oh, that's right. Kirby hates it all.
No Kirby.
Yeah, Biggie hates it all without Kirby. Maybe there's some square fingers. I didn't look close enough. So Hercules gets pummeled. Yeah. Hercules, he's funny in this one though.
Yeah,
I like how he goes out there. He's like, "Oh, I shouldn't have thrown that guy." He runs out there and stops the freaking semi truck. It's completely smashing it.
And he's always like, "Don't worry, send the bill to Avengers Mansion."
In care of Jarvis or something,
Yeah.
Tony
the whole truck. Oh, just send the bill. Tony Stark will cover it.
Yeah.
I mean, he would have killed anybody like throwing him through that window.
Oh yeah.
Regardless,
he landed on his neck.
I know.
It would have snapped his neck right there.
And it would have killed the truck drivers. Like, I don't know how fast that truck driver was going, but when he hit Hercules, that truck came apart in space.
He probably killed all the bystanders around there.
Good thing I'm wearing my seatbelt.
Yeah.
Clean living. You had mentioned he says clean living.
Clean living. Yeah, that did it.
Good thing I had my 5-point harness on.
You better have like Tesla like airbags like surrounding
Get that.
to survive that.
Biggie takes umbrage with our Kirby talk here, so there we go. So all right, you got the abacus ready there, sir.
Oh yeah, I think I already have the grade here. So let's see. It was just making sure they all came in. 20.
Cuatro.
3.4.
What?
So 3.5.
Lean that towards a 3.5.
What?
The lowest score of the evening
Travesty.
coming from
A
chat.
travesty, I say.
Hey,
So let's
people have
see
their own
what we
opinions. They're wrong, but they have their own opinions.
have.
They're the chat. They're right, but man,
Where
usually
did
they're
you land
usually
again, Roger? Was it 4 or 5?
one of us.
Where did
What's
you
that?
land, Roger, again? 4 or 5 or 4?
4-5.
4-5. Yep, that was lowest score was 4. So book's doing all right so far. I mean, the 3 had lower covers, but yeah. So let's see if the run keeps going here. Let's see what we got next. So interior art. Let's go back to art again. Dag nabbit. Enough of that great story, and let's go ahead and lead this one off with Metarog. Sir Metarog, what did you think about the art within? Did it carry over from the great work of the cover? I know there's some finished works done and some breakdowns done, so who knows who handed off what, but what do you think about what was inside?
Well, I'm probably going to make some enemies in the chat with this one because Buscema is, to me, just a legend, one of the best ever, right? But I'm not a fan of Palmer. I mean, and I'll tell you why, right? Because I know what Buscema did before, and I'm going to show you a little bit to compare here, right? And a lot of people are Palmer fans. I get that. But to me, there's 3 things about him that I think I have issue with, right? One is that his figures, to me, right? I think Buscema just did, really, really sketchy layouts here, right? I don't think he did really tight pencils on this because the figures look too mushy to me. I'm not sure if that's the correct term, but they just don't have that kind of tight look to it. Look, everybody's clothes looks like they're wrinkled, not everywhere, but a lot of it is just so dark. I don't know if that's Palmer or the colorist, but there's just so, like, look at this one here, right? It's so dark there. I mean, I understand it's a lab and all this, but it's just way too dark. You need a little bit of contrast there. Even there are parts where it's well done, but it's uneven. You know what I mean? Like, look at here, pile driver. Look at that back. It's all black back there. I mean, what was there some kind of spotlight there or something? I mean, it's just weird. It's just too distracting to me. And the Buscema has great expressions, but Palmer just exaggerates them a little too much. Like, look at this lady here. It looks almost like Joker-like on the smile there. And then there's one where I think it's Bulldozer. Let me see if I can find it. He has this really, look at this. Look at the face on Bulldozer there. Is that coming out, guys? Like, see how, like, kind of a weird little bug-eyed look. That just doesn't look like a Buscema expression to me. I think that looks to me like it was just over inked, or Palmer trying a little too hard there. I do like this one here though. Crusher Creole, the Absorbing Man. Look how Neanderthalic he looks there. That was a cool little visual there. But the layouts, the story element drawings are so well done. Some of the machinery on the Avengers, I mean, it looks like overly complicated, but again, it's almost like out of focus. It's just almost like unfinished or quickly finished. Not at all like the Buscema with the tight pencils that I am used to. And I'm gonna show you why I say that, right? Because here's Buscema with the great Joe Sinnott. Now, Joe Sinnott was one of the best complementary inkers in the game. Okay, see how it's not overly dark. Look how much sharper the images are. All right, look how much tighter those pencils look. Look at Captain America, a really classic Buscema expression there and pose. And with Palmer, it's kind of like, it's almost like it's hard to focus on it because there's too much weird ink shadowing unnecessarily. But the layouts are top-notch Buscema stuff. The expressions are good, except when Palmer overdoes it on it. And man, does the man know how to draw those villains, right? I mean, they have body compositions which are a little bit different. Like Mr. Hyde has this real like almost primate look to him, which I think is it's a little over the top because of the inking, I think. But you know, when you look at it in there, it looks like he stuck his finger in a socket. I mean, look at that hair. You know, it's really, really just great looking layouts. Honestly, just he's a master layout anyway. But I just don't like that inking. It's too dark, too mushy, not enough detail, almost out of focus. So I got to give it a 3. I think it's better than serviceable for sure, but I'm just not a Palmer fan. I know I'm going to make some enemies with that statement, but it's just not to my liking. Compared to Sinnot, there's just no comparison. 3.
All right, 3 coming in hot. Making enemies. Roger, you can't make enemies. It's not possible. Mussolini would be your friend, for goodness sake.
Oh, jeez.
You know, it's funny you mentioned Senate there too. You know, Buscema got him pulled off his books later on down the line, which is kind of, if you take a legend like that and get him pulled off your books, man, that's something, isn't it? It's just, I guess some teams don't work well together. It's kind of strange, but
personalities didn't work, I guess. Yeah, but the art, the product was spectacular.
All right, so that's going to put me up next in the shoot. So what did I think about the interior art? Well, I'm a little bit kinder on this one than Roger was. But there's definitely a couple spots where you can tell Buscema did more work than others. Some negatives, yeah, some of the expressions are a little bit wonky, and there's some weirdness going on. This chick up here is, I don't know about her. It looks like Tank Girl or something. It's not going to focus on me, but it's weird, man. But it's funny because like everyone in like this very first page has a nice little expression. They all look very different. They have very folded clothes, right? And there's a lot of inking on the clothing, which is kind of strange in some spots, but for the most part, it just works. You can tell that Buscema did a lot of work on like probably all of the characters in here because some of them just have so much detail, and like the poses they're in are so Buscema like. If you want to know, this is a Buscema book for a lot of the art. I had some examples here. I got to pull them up here. It's because of certain poses they do. So, okay, here's one of them. Sorry. If I can find this other one I had set aside. Almost there, I think. Possibly.
Way to be prepared, David.
I know. I should have had my fingers in there, right? I can't find the other one. Where'd it go? It's a Zemo picture. I think it was like... This is exciting stuff, is it not?
Hey, it's tough when you have to go through a whole comic, you know?
Oh, I think the page was sticking. That's why. I think the page was sticking together.
Oh, yeah.
Or
that's convenient.
Maybe not. Well, I can't find the second one, but maybe it'll come back to me. But when people are kicking it up, man, no one draws a relaxed person like John does. That's John all the way. He's got a book propped on his knee, you know, coffee held at port arms there, tea sitting on the ground, or coffee. That's tea probably down there. A little bit of shadowing there. Great pose. There's another one just like it, almost with Zemo, except for he's got his hands behind his head. It's just so freaking good. And there it is right there. I couldn't find it. It was right in front of me. Like Zemo just sitting there. That's a pose someone would do, right? Lean back, put their hands behind their head, and look at those monitors in front of them. Great little stuff. And there's panels like that all throughout here. I found another one that was obviously all John Buscema. It's kind of a far away shot. It's this one right here with Namor coming out. I love this picture too. That's so John Buscema right there. It's not even funny, but just great stuff like that all throughout this book. I'll say this much. This book has a lot of close-ups. I mean, this book is almost all on top of you on the action. There's very few pullaways, which is kind of a bummer sometimes, but some things look really good. I think he did draw the quads of Zemo a little bit too thick. He almost got kind of a Conan build here, and Zemo's always been a little bit thinner in build, but so that was a little bit distracting. And Zemo's costume's always been a bit wonky. Kind of cool, but he's got like the reverse pantaloons, like his arms have the pantaloons on them and the skin tight pants or whatever. I don't know. But I love them. These are Buscema here too. These space scenes for sure. Yep. That's got him all over it, and they just look incredible. I love this one of her getting ready to dive into the moon. It just looks so amazing. And great perspective shot of the Earth back there too. So a lot to like in this. The only thing you probably don't like love about it is like there's no like big wow page. There's no huge splash page in here that says, oh my gosh, how could the artist do that? Like this is all kind of workman like for these guys, but there's a lot of good things. The tilt of the head here with Zemo talking or thinking, it's perfect. Like, and you actually get to see Zemo's eyes, which you never get to see in other comics, which is kind of interesting. And this like catatonic stare of this dude down here that they're manipulating. It's, I don't know, just a lot of good in this book. And you can tell that the layouts are just really, really incredible. And so you don't have to do too much work. And plus I never knew, Janet Van Dyne had such huge cans, but well, there it is. It's just interesting. There's a lot of different stuff going on in this book, but there's no real huge action scenes other than Hercules freaking destroying the truck, which looks pretty cool too. That's as close as you're gonna get to a splash page in here. So fun stuff. Not the best work and all that, but just real solid all throughout. And Buscema might have done all the finishes and all that, but you can tell his hand was all over this book. So I actually gave it a 4. I really liked it inside. The only things I didn't like is maybe a little bit too much inking on some of the clothing. So everything has way too much folds in it. And the color palette is really colorful. They made villains so colorful back then. So that part can be a little distressing, but I give it a 4. I think it was really solid artwork inside. Probably rambled on way too far on that one. Let's see.
We always do.
Yeah, I can't help myself. Yeah. That's my one subject. I'll go on there. So, all right, Dave, you are up next in the shoot. What say you about the art found within?
So let's take a look at some of the stuff. There is a splash page. It starts with a splash page, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, but it's not much of an
that
action.
Big Hercules splash page right there, right?
It doesn't splash enough, I guess.
And that's classic comic book art, right? You always start out with the splash page. John hitting it up with that. His anatomy is really on point. You never can accuse him of having, same face-itis with all of his guys. Always have different look to them, different expressions. Very well done. Hercules looks like he's like, he's not sweating it out to do this, but he's, sitting there making sure everything's balanced. He's got that kind of look to him, like he's in like a 3-point, just holding everything up and making sure it's balanced. He's not sweating it out. It's not lifting up that many people is not a big task for Hercules. Yeah, there's lots of like little action stuff, but basically, the truck. Everybody likes the truck, right? Basically, there's not a big fight going on really with these guys in here. I mean, there's some stuff. The villains fighting one another, right? Seema's always nails it with that kind of stuff like that, right? Anatomy's great, costumes are great. I disagree about the inking. I quite like the inking that over Sanat. I always thought Sanat quite under inked everything. I like the way that the inks here are put down. They're quite heavy and they're quite solid. It gives the artwork grounding, but that's art is one of those subjective things, right? Like you can't fault anybody for disliking something or liking something, right? But to me, I prefer like a heavier ink. I've never been really attracted to lightly inked artwork. I always like the darker stuff. He said anatomy. You're never going to fault John with anatomy. He's all over it, right? By this point in his career, he's been doing comics for decades. You can't throw anything at John Buscema that he can't draw, right? He's going to knock it out of the park 100% of the time. So for me, I thought with a really very heavy dialogue, story-driven story to draw out, that John did a pretty good job of it. And I gave the interior art a 4.
All right, 4 is excellent grade, sir. Excellent. You survived yet another week on Grader's Notes.
Oh, I'm allowed back, am I?
Yes, you're back in the good graces. I'll have to do another landscape. Maybe this time we'll do an Arctic tundra. So, all right there.
I want you to do a landscape and then send it to me and let me paint something onto it.
Oh, that'd be kind of cool. You need oils. Well, you can technically do acrylics on top of oil. That's not that big a deal. So it depends what you want to work with.
I got oil paint.
Oh, look at that. Man's a pro. Yeah, that should be fun. I'll throw a mountain and you do the rest of it in there. How's that? All right. So actually, I am planning to do a live stream, but I got to move all the stuff into my garage and get that figured out. But anyway, Kenny, what say you, sir? What did you think about the art found within?
Well, I think this book is chock full of great anatomy and poses. I think the first splash page is, a masterclass in that. All the people on the table have unique expressions and poses, and that happens all throughout the book. I love this panel, how they did Hercules holding up that glass, that posture, that smile on his face. It's like he's in a Dos Equis commercial or something. Really well done, great expression, great pose, and again, the book is full of that. The dynamic, you can just feel the movement on that truck crashing panel. I really like that pose and that facial expression. However, a note that I had made is right on par with what my man Roger was saying about the ink. I can tell that this isn't I can tell, maybe not stem to stern John Buscema. And, it's a collaborative effort. And the inking, I find the inking to be heavy in places and scratchy, I guess is the word that I'm using for it. Where's a good panel? The Sonat stuff you had showed earlier, while, some might say it's under inked, the lines, all the Sonat lines when he's inking, I feel like are really deliberate and bold. And I feel like that shines best on Buscema's work. And I feel like there's a scratchiness. If you look at Captain Marvel's arm here, I would have liked to see her forearm from her pinky right down to her forearm, elbow, just a solid black line. And you see how there's scratchiness to it. There's a start and stop all throughout that image. And that little subtle start stop, not just one continuous bold line, happens throughout the book, as well as a little bit of heaviness on the black ink. With the clothing folds, on Hyde's jacket there, I think in his head, I think that's heavy ink, and it's got a little bit of a muddiness to it. I won't hold this panel. I know Roger was pointing out the heavy black in here, but that is the moment when they're surrounded by the blackout guy. So I think that's, that's what they were shooting for, I suppose, when he kind of surrounds the area in the black. You're right, Janet Van Dyne. More like Janet Van Dam. Looking good, looking great. I thought he really nailed it on that. Genome, you hit it right on the head too, of the anatomy, the posture, the poses. Zemo chilling in that seat, reclined, you're right. He's one of the best at drawing characters naturally in a relaxed state. I remember you pointed it out in a few areas. It really shines in those Conan books, hanging at the tavern or something, and you're seeing just the background characters are all eye-catching and drawn so casually, and you have to really have. It's one thing to draw a character in an action pose, but I feel like a real sign of mastery is drawing a relaxed figure, in these natural poses. Look at Goliath kind of just chilling there with his hands crossed, the way he's cupping his wrist with his other hand. Very natural. Moonstone. Moonstone.
He's doing it now too.
Moonstone leaning on him, sitting backwards on the chair, AC Slater style. Like it's really good stuff. There's not, when I first went through, because one of the things that I do when I scan a page in Grader or scan a book in Grader's Notes, I read it and I notice the art. Then I go back and hone in on the panels of the art. And then the last thing I do, this is the Kenny's secret recipe of how I grade my books for Grader's Notes. Then I do one last pass where I don't focus in on each panel, but I look at each page as its own piece of art, and that usually informs me on panel layout and how they're using the page to tell the story. And some artists, really shine at that. You see like Perez work his magic, and it's like, wow, you see how he lays things out, and you never feels cluttered. This one at times felt, it could have been smoother. I think, considering the story is very static. I mean, this breakout moment, they break out with the Hercules thing in the beginning, and there's a little bit of a ruckus with Hyde at the hangout. But there's a lot of static at Zemo's headquarters panels. And I think they could have, I usually don't like too many shenanigans in getting too wild with the panels, but I think they could have made the layouts a little more interesting, considering there was a fair amount of characters talking and static things happening. It felt a little uninspired in some places. Then again, the contents of the story that they were telling, I get you're working with what you got, but I feel like that could have been done a little better. My last critique is I was not a fan of. I'm not a fan of how they draw Captain Marvel as a light beam. Is that like a jellyfish or some kind of crustacean with an afro? Come on, man.
That looks more like a remora. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a remora, dude.
Could be an arrow.
So that was just a little, I don't know if that's lazy. I mean, look at that. It looks like pancake batter that is oozing off the planet or something. Anyway, in summary, solid and all that. Couple little tweaks, like I said. I gave it a 3.5.
3.5. Is this Roger Stern era Avengers? Yep. Palmer and layout.
Sure is.
They always did that like weird little arrow puddle of light traveling through space for her when she turned into photons. We won't go into the logistics of actually traveling at the speed of light.
Yes, and time dilation and all that on Earth.
No, because like if she actually turns into photons, then she wouldn't have time dilation because she would have no mass. But every time, if you're flying through space, by the time you see an object, you've already hit it because our eyes see the reflected light, right?
Yeah.
We got old school Shinobis in the chat. The snark factor went up by 10 because Bub's Comics is here as well. Good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah, now you said that, I can't get the stupid image out of my head now. Since you said that, it's like it looks like a giant zit got popped right there or something. Way to go there, Kenny. Way to ruin the book for me. But what say you, chat? Put your scores in there, and we will tabulate shortly as we talk a little bit more about the art and the book overall. And yeah, fun stuff inside. Not a huge action book, but didn't have to be. I guess they're saving it for sweeps. The next issue or two when the big baddies start coming out to play. But just fun, solid book overall. And you're right. If I was going to get if Big John was resurrected in Atacon or sending stuff, and I had a couple $100 to get a custom picture, I would have him draw the Punisher or something, kicking back in a chair, with maybe a few wounds on him, like nursing and his head hanging down. I would do something like I wouldn't have some action pose because, and like you were saying, Kenny, even the background characters, they got their leg kicked up somewhere or they're leaning on a bar somewhere. They're not just standing there like idiots, Yeah. He's so good at that natural pose.
Yeah, his Fantastic Four run is full of those poses. The Thing with a cigar, looking at the TV, or just chilling. Great stuff. You can, like you said, that's quintessential Buscema. Nobody does it like him.
No.
Yeah.
He used to have his own art school.
Yeah, in fact, that was he. I think it was up till the '90s, right? And then he had to stop doing it because it was too much commuting back and forth all the time.
Yeah, something, or he just got too rich, didn't want to do it anymore.
I mean, who could blame him? The guy didn't want to work in comics that much, but he just took it and then ran with it, and he was so busy.
That'd be a good gig, being a model for the Buscema Art School to pose. Like, all right, pose like
kick
this
back.
for an hour.
Kick back, yeah.
Can you put your leg up there again? But I mean, like, if you look at, there's another one here. I didn't want to point them all out because there's so many good ones, but Hercules propped right here on the bar is great. The hands are bent like they should be. His tricep becomes more pronounced because that's what would happen if you put your arm straight out on somewhere. So just such a command of anatomy. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, for sure.
2-4 variant because a few good panels or revealer. Oh boy, Bub's coming in hard on this one.
Yeah.
He didn't like the cover too much either from when I was reading above. But hey, that's what it's all about. You can't make everyone happy, right?
Yeah, there's not enough scantily clad women in here for him, I'm sure.
Go look at go look at Janet Van Dyne inside.
There's Janet with the plunging cocktail dress, and that's it. You got 2 panels. I bet you those are the 2 panels he's referring to, by the way.
Maybe, but then again, Rob Liefeld can sell 2 million books. So, all right. So no counting for taste. No, we're just kidding. We love all the greats in here. So if you have the abacus ready, Kenny, I'll start reading these off to you. Unless you've been doing this the whole time.
Nope.
All right. We got a few more scores this time. They love the art, right? So, all right. Come in with a 4, 3.5, 4, 3.5, 4.5, 3, 2.5. And that is it. Jack Kirby's pretty good as well.
Yeah, no, agreed. I'm just saying that particular pose was a lot during the he had a lot in that run.
That's a 3.5.
Yep, that's what
3.5. All right, that seems fair enough right there. Actually, Shinobi had a question in there. If y'all want to handle that one,
Yeah, I do believe he did. Yeah, I do believe he did. Yes, that's what I heard. That he had a problem with the Shooter and the, or was it the who came after Shooter? Was that
DeFalco?
DeFalco. No, yeah, it might have been Shooter. Yeah,
Everybody had a problem with Shooter.
Yeah, it might have been Shooter.
He didn't care who you were. Don't put crap copy in front of him. So,
but he saved comics.
Yep.
Saved
Lived and breathed them. Kenny, what was your score? Is it 3.5?
It was.
Okay.
Yeah, look, you see, I told you, put up Bub's thing there. You see, I know this man. I've been working with this man for almost 3 years. I'm inside that head,
Yeah.
For 2 of the points you made, I don't get it. Is there a reference there? Or Freudian slip there? I think this.
He gave 2.5 points. The 2 points were just for the Van Damme panels.
I don't remember seeing her ever drawn like that before. She always seemed kind of proportionate, right? For one of her petite stature. She was not Moondragon,
No. There's a few times I've seen her with a little bustier, but yeah, this one was a little bit out there, yeah.
But all right.
Let her push-up bra on. Going to the wards.
I don't think she had any bra on.
Yeah, no bra there.
She went all James Manfield on this one, so.
Yeah, that's right. Good analogy. Yep.
She was a delicate genius, a benevolentness, but whoever saw amazing. Yeah, I know. He's like the Seinfeld skit, right? Delicate genius. He was, but I mean, it's like, say what you will about him. A good boss will have to get angry sometimes if he sees crap come across either his desk or in the assembly line, whatever. He can't always be a nice guy. And there's a lot of pressure back then, especially when the books were selling like they were at that point.
Yeah.
That's crazy. He was building an empire there. And
Marvel was on the cusp of going under when he took it over. So you got to, he had to change the culture. That's for sure.
Well, think of, it was like we've said it before, the Wild West. Like there were so many editors right before Jim, and then finally came in and was like enough. We have to have some continuity with what we're doing here.
Oh yeah,
how
George.
You guys are treated.
I love me some George Perez. In fact, we did a book of his. Was Crisis the last Perez book we did?
Yes,
I think so. Yeah.
No, Don't Do Drugs issue.
Oh, was that Perez? Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So don't do drugs, kids, because George Perez tells you so. So, all right. What else could deal with the egos of guys? Claremont. Yeah. Oh, man. Totally get me started. I had a a story about Byrne. I'm not going to tell it. It was told me by an insider. But, yeah, so. Yeah, you can imagine.
I know who told you that. Yeah.
No, you don't.
I know who told you that. Yeah.
You might be surprised. But anyway, it's funny. I didn't even realize it until I picked this book up. This is actually edited by Mark Grunwald, too. And he was I loved his run on Cap. The stories are so much more interesting when he was at the helm.
Yep.
So
Agreed.
what a great team that was on this. But all right, so let's get into the basically final concept or final ephemeral concept of the book, and that is the concept of it itself. So I'll go ahead and lead this one off. But basically, did the book do anything new, innovative? Did it institute a new idea or a character? Did it build a new team? What did it do? So let me jump into there. And okay, actually, what am I doing? No, that's fine. I'll leave that one up. So, concept of this book. Okay, so the concept is we're going to give the Avengers a worthy adversary, possibly, with a new mastermind behind it. Kind of a cool idea. Usually, villains come at the heroes by themselves or in ones and twos, usually not as a concerted effort. And it makes very little sense considering how powerful the heroes are, right, in Marvel. So, yeah, here's an idea. Let's get a real genius mastermind who can get and gather all these great superhero or villains and aim them in one direction for a change. So really cool idea. I mean, nothing revolutionary, but it's definitely much different than most of the villain team ups of the day. They also imbued Zemo with some good tactical skills and some knowledge of his limited abilities. This is one thing that's always so a glaring weakness like Red Skull, right? Because he always considered himself so superior to everybody, no matter what powers they had or how much intelligence they had, that he couldn't see problems in front of his own face, right? And his people hated him. In this one, it looks like all the ones of the underlings kind of are on board with Zemo, right? They don't seem to be vying for his position, even though he knows better than to trust any of them. And so that's kind of a cool little facet, and it just brings a little extra to the book. But I mean, as the overall thing, this is basically just building a new team and pitting them against the big team, right? And so that's nothing too revolutionary. So my concept is not going to be going off the charts, but I do like that they put a good team on it. They put a good story on it, and they made the aspirations of the villain make sense. Do you take on all the heroes at once, or do you take one team at a time? Start with the top, take down the most powerful ones, and we'll go after the Fantastic Four and maybe the X-Men later, whoever they need to go for. It made sense. There was a logical progression to the story, which I really dug. And I guess it kind of bleeds over into the concept itself. But like I said, it doesn't do anything too new here, but it does approach it in a semi-different way, at least for Marvel, which I thought was kind of cool. So I gave it a 3.5. It didn't introduce anything too extraordinary or new, but it did do it in a different way. And it was a nice setup for future issues, I thought. So 3.5, I think is a pretty solid concept.
Nice.
Let's see. Next, we're going to have Metarog next. So, Sir Metarog, what was your opinion about the concept of this book, sir?
I agree with you on many points. At this point, the Avengers, they had changed a lot. There were members dropping off for personal reasons, et cetera, and new ones coming in who were kind of inexperienced. And yeah, I agree that, I'm surprised you didn't mention this, Gino, but this was almost like a military operation, right? I mean, think about it, right? You use diversionary tactics. You cut off communication so that there can't be any backup. You do surveillance and research beforehand, and then you counter the strengths that you're going to face with overwhelming numbers, right? Because they got like three times the amount of Masters of Evil than there were Avengers at the time, and so Zemo had a perfect plot, really perfect plan, really, for this. And the fact that Marvel and Stern, kind of for some time now, he was assembling, he was doing all the behind the scenes stuff. And notice that normally, so in the 70s, the comic book would have started right around there, right around where they rushed the gate. That would be the thinking, right? Oh, well, we're just going to go in there and we're just going to take care of it without any kind of research, without any kind of intelligence, without any kind of plan. But no, you're right. This was very different. This was somebody who had a beef with the Avengers, Captain America specifically, but the Avengers, because his father was killed by them way back in the beginning of the Avengers formation. So he besides revenge, he knew that this was paramount for him being able to assert his power over, essentially the city, the world, the United States, whatever it may be. Very well conceived plot. I thought the art was not the best, but certainly better than average. Certainly got the job done. There were little crossovers which weren't really advertised, but were key to the culmination of what happened later on, right? And again, I'm trying to like not weigh the rest of the story because it is so good. And when you read this issue and you see how it sort of wended into the rest of the story, it just was so well done. So I'm trying not to be biased when it comes to that, but man, this was so well conceived. And again, the Avengers never avenged. They were just sort of reaction. They were it was like a villain somewhere and they would just take care of it. This one got personal. This one got real personal. A lot of things changed. People were hurt on the cusp of dying. They were never the same after this because of this storyline. So I think this concept is a little bit better than what you think, Genome, because of how when you consider how the stories were, just sort of thrown into action. Now, this one was more cerebral. This one was more long-term. This one was more in-depth than most. So I gave it a 4.
All right, 4 it is. Excellent score there, sir. Excellent score.
Thanks.
Kenneth, are you going to keep rolling with these better than average scores, or do you rate it in the realm of greatness?
We'll see. So concept of the anniversary cover. First off, I'd say, it was a cool concept. Overall, I'd give that a plus. Made the issue stand out. Anything to increase that collectability at the time. If you're not an Avengers reader, but you were collecting a lot of these portraits, well, I better grab the Avengers one so I can complete my little set of portrait anniversary issues. So concept on that cover, I'd say well played. Because they're not, overall I think they're pretty cool. And as far as the concept of this issue, I'd say overall as an Avengers run concept it's kind of like Avengers is an interesting book because it makes me think of something they do in pro wrestling. And in pro wrestling, when you want to get jobbers over or guys that are coming up, B-list guys, C-list guys, new guys, when you want to get them over, you kind of put them on the same team with some of the big dogs, Degeneration X. You link up Badass Billy Gunn and Road Dogg with Triple H and Shawn Michaels to help them get over. Same thing with NWO, so on and so forth. So the Avengers run, like this current era, is such a good example of that, of Hercules, Black Knight, and Monica Rambeau, Captain Marvel, of using the Avengers team, putting them on a prestigious team like Avengers with Captain, shoulder to shoulder with Captain America, to kind of put them over and legitimize them and make them on par with the other heroes. I think the Avengers title was always a pretty good vehicle for that. Anyway, specifically to this issue, I mean, the deal. Like these gentlemen said, the concept of this issue of you're following the villains and you see a perfectly orchestrated plot from the very beginning. Like I said, in the middle of reading it, I had to catch up to why are we reading about Hercules hanging at the bar and Marvel going to France? Okay, we're laying the seeds of Zemo's plot, and very interesting. I think it was a good concept for this issue to hone in on the villains your strategy. So good stuff. Building up your villains so they're not just mindless punchers and they just want to take over the world and whatnot. Very tactical, and the plan was executed at the end. Really cool. Overall, this thing was killing it on concept for me. Nothing groundbreaking, I guess, but I think it was really had the right idea on many fronts. So I'm going to give it a 4 on concept.
All right, coming with a 4 on the concept. Excellent, sir. Excellent. So we continue on with the upward trend here, Dave. What say you on the concept of this book?
Concept of this book. Concept of this book. Let's take a bunch of B villains, put them together, and make an issue out of it. And it worked. I mean, this is one of those, the sum of its parts make a greater whole kind of deal, right? Like, individually, these guys are not a match for the Avengers in any way. They're not organized. Mr. Hyde isn't going to, like, outmuscle anybody. A lot of the Avengers can easily outmuscle Mr. Hyde and stuff like that, right? They're underpowered. They're individually, they're, way outnumbered. So getting all these B-list guys into the thing, and I mean, sending them out there. We see how this kind of plays out favorably even in like Marvel movies where we have our B-list characters like the Guardians of the Galaxy really take off with a good story. And I think they did that quite well here. The concept of this book, a villain issue, we don't get a lot of villain issues, right? So that in itself is just great. I mean, I know we have our little smatterings, couple pages of, what the Avengers are doing at the time, going to movies or drinking coffee in France or whatever, but basically this is a villain issue. It's about all surrounding the villains, their plans, their plots, their interactions. And I loved it. I thought the concept was better than your average issue that was coming out at the time, and I gave the concept a 4.
All right, 4 it is. So let me get
pretty close
recorded
to the
here.
same page there. All of us were.
Yeah, all within 0.5. So
Yeah, pretty close.
so who made the? They were talking about like attacking like the home bases.
Oh yeah. The
Chat.
Baxter
One of
building.
them was about the damn X Mansion always getting turned into a smoldering pile of rubble so many times. That's true, man. Hate to be their insurance agent, but I can't find right now. But yeah, so good stuff there. All right, so what say you, chat? What is your opinion on the concept of this book? Bit of an ephemeral subject, but this one's a little more concrete, right? So yeah, put your or let your voice be heard in the chat, and we will tabulate here shortly. So funny thing with all this.
I was going to say Stark Industries was another one that just constantly was being destroyed, and then the next issue it just reappeared.
Well, they had good construction crews back then. Not too much union labor either. So funny as all this is going on, Zemo is actually a character in Marvel Strike Force. If I can get to focus in, it's not going to, is it?
Yeah, we can see it.
But he's one of the actually stronger characters in the game, believe it or not. So
he's getting the push because of Falcon Winter Soldier, I'd imagine.
Yeah, that game likes to do stuff like that.
That's the rumor. Yeah. And remember, this is Baron Zemo's son, Helmut Zemo, right? So
yeah, this is Zemo 2.
Yeah.
Is the MCU guy the original or the?
I think so. Yeah.
Or Zemo 2.
He's awful young.
Almost a whole different character. It didn't really bear any resemblance to the Zemo I remember. Yeah.
No, apparently he's going to wear the mask in Falcon the Winter Soldier.
Oh, is he?
But he was he was technically the main villain of Civil War.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and great villain and a great actor that plays him.
Yeah.
What's his name there?
Yeah, German dude from I remember him from the Tarantino movie, Inglourious Bastards.
Yep.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's right.
Yep.
We got like 5.5 hours till it drops, so.
That's telling as it is. Hey, my Canadian brother.
Yeah.
What's this a boot, hey? All right.
If you got 5 hours, so you can just watch the Snyder cut. It's about 5 hours.
By the time I finish the Snyder cut, I'll be just time to tune in for Falcon.
Yeah. Let's see. Ranger says much smarter concept than the average superhero comic book of that period. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. It was totally.
Mm-hmm. And Team Orange, I had to close the door today. I didn't know if Orange is going to be getting loose. I couldn't be distracted. The cat comes in here and destroys it. It likes to jump on my piles of comic books I have laying around here, knocking everything askew.
Oh, I know that too well.
Let's see here. Oh, I think did before I get to tabulating score. Oh yeah, old school. It is out of 5. It's on a 0.5 scale too, so you can have a 1.5 or 2, 2.5, whatever. So that helps. So if you're ready to start tabulating, we'll go ahead and get this show closed here shortly.
Yeah.
And stay tuned. We're going to announce the next book here at the end. So let's see. Where's the first one?
That's right. We need you to weigh in, folks.
I
meant-
the overall.
I meant
No,
to.
no choices. I pulled the executive
No
decision.
choices.
Oh, that's true. We're just going to show it to you. I meant to say that at the very beginning, but let's see. Okay, here we go. So, you ready over there, Kenny?
Yeah, of course.
He's over there doing the John Buscema kicking it back, man. He's like,
Yeah.
It's gonna be a 4. It's gonna be a 4. So
all right. First score is a 4. We got a 4.5. Another 4. 4. 4.
Or
Unless I see another one that is all of these scores. 4 again.
I'm gonna go out on a limb. Say it's a 4.
the 4s have it.
Man, he's all over it. Let's see. So that's 4. All right, chat breaking with tradition, and you want to do? Well, I got the abacus pulled up. You want to do a another one for me? I think it's going to be a 4 as well. It's 3. No, actually, it's not going to be 3.5 plus 3.5 plus 4 plus 3.5, and give me my number, if you would. I don't know if that goes. Actually, it might get rounded up. I don't know if that 4 throws it to a 3.75. So
3.6.
no, okay, so it's 3.5. All right. Okay, so let's get on to our final overall grades, and we're gonna kind of start right back where we begun. Metarog, real briefly, what was your take on the overall score of this book?
Yeah, this worked out pretty well, I'd say, with my scores. I mean, as far as the average and as far as what my gut was for this comic, the cover, I think it's really well done. I mean, it's for what it is. Again, you know, it's not related to the story per se, but the concept of having that little border 25th anniversary and having, you know, the chivalrous Black Knight, I think was a good call, and obviously so well done by Buscema and Romita there, and Palmer. I gotta give him credit too. The story was the real star here. Honestly, it just, like you guys said, I mean, I couldn't wait to see it ended, you know, just in that little cliffhanger, and you couldn't wait to see what's going on. You knew somehow the Avengers would come on top, but you know, you don't know how. And I just thought it was just, the dialogue was so smart and so on point. Every villain had his own little nuances, perfectly fleshed out. The way that Zemo was, you know, thinking through things, and how he had to not only, you know, deal with the planning of this coup here, but also about how he can keep his team under control and under his direction. Really brilliant plotting and dialogue, honestly. I just have a few little nitpicks with, you know, how they threw the guy and, you know, the actual execution there at the end, but 4.5. Art, I thought it was the weakest point, honestly. Buscema, out of the park layouts, great storytelling, great posing anatomy, everything. I just thought the inking just really just muddled the waters too much and really didn't let Buscema shine as much as it could. And maybe the coloring in there a little bit too, just not to my taste. I understand what Miracle's saying, and you know, I just personal preference. I like Sinnott. I like cleaner lines, not such mushiness and out of focus stuff. 3, concept, you just went over it. 4, really good stuff. You know, just at the time I was like, man, this is so different. You know, they're just not charging in there. They're actually, you know, trying to figure out how to defeat them before they impulsively go against them. Again, the fact that there are all the other things behind it. So it came out to me as a 4. I mean, I think that's a fair grade. It's much better than average, way up there as far as a story. I think if you take the whole story arc, I'd give it even a higher grade, but just this one issue, 4.
All right, 4. Great score there, sir. Great score. You know I'm going to have to pick him next because he's got a mouthful of some sort of Canadian food product. So I'm giving you time to chew while I keep There you go. All right. So what say you, sir? What was your overall score for this book? Actually, you know what? We usually do it like this. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's fine. For me, it was the cover was okay. Wasn't like stellar. I understand they were doing like a big thing that month. And Tears, I was good with the inks. I was good with a lot of the stuff. Like I said, I thought for a story wordy driven comic book like that one was, trying to do action artwork, John Buscema did the best that he possibly could, and like I don't think anybody could have gotten as good artwork in there. The story, I loved it. Right, I gave full marks on the story, pacing, details, the dialogue, the reasoning behind everything really worked for me, and the whole concept, bringing these B characters in together to like make a formidable force out of all of these guys. I mean, the Wrecking Crew. Who the hell cares about the Wrecking Crew? But here they are, like taking down the Avengers, right? So love it. Like I said, when I do my overalls, I always think, would I recommend this to someone to read? Definitely. I'd recommend this whole era of Avengers for people to read, and especially this issue. It's fantastic. So overall, I gave it a 4.5.
Wow.
All right, 4.5. Excellent score there, sir.
Ooh.
Excellent. And does the Lounge-O-Matic concur on that score? Did this thing put you to sleep in a relaxation mode, or have you jiving up for more?
No, I was pretty jived. The cover was the cover the weakest point? I think the cover might have been the weakest point for me. I thought the story was a solid romp, man. Villain-centric story. I liked it. The artwork. I had some qualms with it. There was the Buscema thumbprint was definitely alive and well in the book, but you could tell, maybe he didn't have complete, the definitive last stroke on some of these panels. And I think that I didn't like the ink as much. I think it took away a little bit from our boy Big John. So, but high marks nonetheless. And the concept I was very pleased with. This is one that I think I'm legit going to, based on what I read and from what I've been hearing, I'm going to go ahead and finish this story arc out because I kind of want to see this clash go down, how this plays out, So that's a really good sign for a comic because, I don't always want to jump to the next issue after one of these shows. But this one, I think I'm going to do that. So that's a very good sign for this book. And I'm going to overall give it a 4.
All right.
You're muted, Dave.
Oh, yeah, you're on mute.
No.
You're muted.
Oh, yeah.
Sam, I always do that. The issue right before this is good too, where they get the whole into Atlantis, and it's the first appearance of X Factor, and like all kinds of crazy stuff in that issue right before this.
Right.
Funny note, in Marvel Strike Force, X Factor is now getting released, but they're using kind of a weird like team makeup. They're using like Multiple Man, Polaris, and then they have Longshot and Shatterstar. I never knew those guys were even on X Factor, but then again, I was out of the 90s.
X Factor book?
No, in Marvel Strike Force, the game that I play, that my gaming channel centered on.
Oh,
so
yeah.
So I was like,
when you see me looking up, it's because I'm kind of sneaking off and I'm playing a little bit of the Marvel Ultimate Alliance on the
you rapscallion. I have the first one on PS3, but
multitasking over there.
My ears are wide open, brother.
I loved Doc Strange in that game. Turns everything to crates. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and give you a quick rundown of my overall. So for the cover, solid effort. A lot of good little details in this book. I was sitting there thinking, I wonder if John got to pick who was going to be on this cover. Maybe they said anybody but Captain America, right? Because did Thor have his own one of these too?
Yes.
Okay, I thought he did. So maybe they just said no Cap or Thor, but you can do anybody else you want. Maybe he picked Black Knight. I don't know, but it seems like a funny choice for the book considering how little he's actually in it. Heck, make it Zemo. That'd been really cool, right? But so I gave it a 4. I thought it was pretty solid. I'm trying to go in order. So the story, I gave it a 4.5. My favorite part of the book. It wasn't just a fetch quest. The fetching was already done. Now it was a reconnaissance quest, right? Know your enemy. It's like a Sun Tzu kind of thing here. Great, like story. And it's like, it's so nice to see like them getting into the minds of the supervillains finally, right? It's like, how do I keep these guys organized? How do I keep them all together and from turning on me? The heroes just always get along for the most part. And then, but you go down to the villains and they're just so disjointed. That's why they never win, like I said. So it's nice to see them get a mastermind finally. And it's a human. I love the human characters in comics. So that's a great thing, too, that he could do all that. Just shows you how determined and how intelligent he was. So 4.5, great story. I want to read more. I definitely want to get the next couple issues as well. Let's see. Interior art, I gave it a 4. Some of the great layouts that were obviously done by Buscema were really awesome, but I don't think he's incapable of doing anything less than awesome. So fun stuff inside, not totally solid because there wasn't a ton of action, but there was some action scenes in there. It wasn't a lot of explosions and big world-bending events, but it was cool. I mean, I thought the inking was a little heavy-handed myself. I think it was there was someone in there commented said one of the sleeves looked like a slinky because of all the inking and back and forth and the fold. Yep. But so I thought that was kind of appropriate. But yeah, some great art within. And once again, Zemo kicking it back and Jarvis kicking it back was like they stole the book. 2 guys sitting down and thinking stole the book for me. So I love that. So yeah, I gave interior art a 4 as well. The concept, I only gave it 3.5 because it didn't really recreate things, but it was nice to finally get a worthy adversary going and bringing in a lot of B-listers. As B-list as they were, like the Wrecking Crew was a very powerful team. They just never got written right. Thunderball and Wrecker are both like Asgardian level threats, right? They can go in there and trade as long as they got their weapons, right? So cool to see that. And it was, once again, just kind of a nice little like, hey, let's finally get the villains a big team. They need a big team. Maybe they'll win something. So pretty good concept, but nothing too amazing. But it's still better than average. I gave it 3.5. And overall, the math said this book is a 4 for me, and I think it's a really solid 4. Tempted to give it a 4.5 because it actually exceeded my expectations because I'm not a big Avengers guy, right? But I really like this book, and I would highly recommend it to anybody to read. This is good for a newbie reader, and it's good for a long-time comic reader veteran. 4 is solid, and I'll leave it there because math doesn't lie. But great book, highly recommended, and hope everyone enjoyed that rendition of Grader's Notes. So the overall chat score was a 3.5. In fact, that was like the score for all but one of them, and the other one was 4. So 3.5 for the chat. So they were kind of on board with us, I'd say. Let's see. Wrecker's 40 tons, but he gave. Yeah, it was kind of a weird dynamic with him and the crowbar, and same thing with Thunderball. If he was like several feet away, he got weaker when it was gone. It was kind of, but it was never like consistent with those guys. But they were strong. They just weren't very smart. Thunderball was very smart. He was like the brains of the operation.
He was a scientist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Pile driver and bulldozer aren't that smart.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. The other guys were construction workers.
It was a funny crew. They got a guy with a freaking crowbar and a damn wrecking ball and all that.
Crowbar.
Wow. Shanty crowbar.
Okay, so there it is. That is this week's Graders Notes, and I guess we'll go ahead and get into the next book we're going to do, Dave. So I'm going to give you front and center here, if you want to show it to us.
So let me show you the drawing I did for today's show.
Oh, with the reveal.
Whoa!
No, I can't. I couldn't do that.
There's no way.
That's a painting I'm working on for my brother. Here's the drawing I did for today.
Nice.
Yeah, not the greatest.
Cool.
Here, but
Zemo, cool gun.
Yeah, I like it.
It's got kind of a Han Solo holdout blaster look to it. I like it.
Yeah,
he got his fur shoulders.
Yeah, his body's a little wonky. I have to work on it a bit. Anyway, it's next time I'll nail it better. But yeah, this is a painting I was working on. Just show that again.
That's a nice gloss cover. Is that in like a protective wrap of some kind, or is that actually you like a shellac or something you get on there?
It's epoxy resin I put on there. I got to put a top coat on that one. Now to the big reveal for next week's book. It's right here. And we made the executive decision. We were going to have a choice, but then everybody kind of got a little bit excited about doing a G.I. Joe book.
Yeah.
Yo, Joe.
G.I. Joe number 34.
I love that A10 behind him. Yep.
And knowing is half the battle.
Wow.
Gorgeous Zek artwork cover there.
Yep.
Zek
I
and Baby
remember
there.
buying this off the spinner rack when I was a kid. I remember buying it right off the shelf. But
I'll be the judge if that's gorgeous or not.
But yeah, I've been kind of chomping to do a G.I. Joe book. We haven't done a G.I. Joe book.
Yeah,
Right?
that's cool.
So
Yeah, that was a super fun series. If you were a kid, that was super fun, man.
oh yeah, man. Like how much like little military terms that I learned just from all the little footnote bubbles at the bottom of the panels all the time.
Watch my 6. And I'm like, what
Six.
does that mean?
They never had good OPSEC.
Well, I
though.
mean,
Yeah,
I
the
already-
gold never Larry.
I already
Hillary,
bought my copy, $5.
there you go.
There was a few on eBay.
I'm going to the shop because I never get mail here in less than 2 weeks.
Yeah, there's a couple that they're asking like high grade copy. They want like $30-something.
Yeah, don't drink so much when you price your comics, buddy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
those,
no.
those are
Don't drink
normal.
so much when you're making listings.
Yeah, I got
Yeah, I
surprised
got this
when we
one
do this
for a
one. So.
buck. Right, I
Buck?
got this one from my LCS for a buck.
Nice.
It's not in the best shape. It's got some spine ticks and whatnot, but it was more because I wanted to, have it for the show and read it. So I
Excellent.
don't mind having dollar comics if I'm going to get my ketchup potato chip fingerprints all over it.
You should hit it with some of that epoxy resin when you're done. Make your own slab out of it. Just dip it.
I could make a total slab out of it. I should send somebody that as a joke. It'd be hilarious.
Put some Sharpie up there. It says 3.5 or something. It'll be awesome.
Gray Man, I don't know if you can put that up there, Gino. Gray Man is laying down a gauntlet for us.
What's he got?
Which one? The Raiders crew versus the Wrecking Crew?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They don't stand. They don't have a prayer against us.
No.
We will nitpick them to death.
I'll just rate them into oblivion. That's all it is going to take. Record would shake in fear at our acerbic wit and acid tongue, right?
Pile Driver would just go catatonic just with the vocabulary here.
I'd start playing Sledgehammer by Pete Gabriel and it'd be all over, right? So, all right. So here is the point of the show. Oh yeah, well, there's that too. Anyway, hammer pants notwithstanding, today this is the portion of the show where we kind of go briefly over what people are doing with their channels in the coming weeks. So, Roger, what do you got coming up here in the near future?
Okay, well, actually on Sunday I'm going to be joined. I don't know if he's still in the chat, but with Comic Mag Musings, and we're going to actually Bill. Yes, we're actually Jackson Roy Kirk isn't here to sort of. Call him out. So
he'll comment in the replay. Don't worry.
Yeah, he'll comment in the replay. But we're going to actually going to do a retrospective on the whole Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider run from Marvel Spotlight 5 through the Bodiansky covers of Ghost Rider 81. We're going to do it in 2 parts. First part. I'm
not letting Dave show me up, damn it.
This Sunday, and then we're going to do another part, maybe in a week, maybe in 2 weeks on Bill's channel. Probably on either that next Sunday or the one after. And of course I'm on the No Faces chat with Bob and DS, and Thursdays you got the roundup. Next week is a non-roundup week. I'm going to have a special video about the lost transition issues of the Legion of Superheroes. Yes, that is a deep dive, Kenny. It really is.
That's what I like to hear.
Their first opponent was the Killdozer. All right, sounds like you got some good stuff coming up there. Kenneth, my friend, if you can take a break from playing our Marvel Ultimate Alliance, what do you got coming up in the next couple of days?
Yeah, I don't know, man. No firmly booked 84 appearances. You just gotta keep your eyes peeled. You never know when I may appear with some hot new content for you. But for now, I'm aside from Grader's Note, I'm kind of on the lam right now.
Mm-hmm. You got to take breaks to recharge. What's that slab behind you? I can't see it too well.
Oh yeah,
that's the first Black Knight, right?
Hold on a second.
Ooh, very nice.
I figured that was appropriate.
Oh, that's a beaut.
It really is a beaut.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
Good color contrast, nice white backgrounds, everything pops.
Yep.
That's
And I didn't notice until I actually held it in my hand and like really inspected it that I always thought it was just like a city skyline in the background, but it's an aerial shot. like of those buildings.
Yeah,
Top
like
down.
just going
From the
straight
top.
up.
Yeah.
So it's like the top of the rooftop. So
Yeah.
that means Black Knight is flying directly upwards, like
Up.
into the sun. You know,
Just like Icarus. Yep.
I always
Everybody
figured
else is falling.
flying forward in those buildings behind him, but he's like. Anyway, cool cover. I've always loved the design of Black Knight.
It is a beaut. All right, so Kenny's on something of a siesta there and waiting for the next Graders to go around.
Hiatus.
Do another wrestling bio or something. I always like when you do those. Dave, what about you? You just released Undervalued not too long ago. What else you got coming up?
Like literally not too long ago, as in probably 20 minutes after the show started here, I dropped one and finally uploaded it.
I got it
It's
right here.
It's brand new. There's a brand new Undervalued video up right now, so anybody can go and check that out. Other than that, I don't know. I was on Lame or Frame on Tuesday. If anybody wanted to take a look at that, I lost to Gorilla Todd, the guy. It was close. It was a tough fight. And yeah, just taking it cash. Be putting up stuff, getting on some other people's channels. I think got some more irons in the fire. My channel sucks, so I might as well be on other people's.
Well, your sub count does not seem to agree with that, but
2,000 subs don't agree with that. That's for sure.
I don't
Well
got
done.
2,000.
It's a
1,800.
formality.
you want beer to kink. Yeah. George Tuska. Yeah, so, okay, George Tuska did the inks.
I
that
think
cover?
he did the art too. I don't think this is a Kirby. This is a George Tuska cover.
Those wings on that horse are friggin' fire right there, man. I can't.
Yeah, true.
Here, hold that there one more time.
There, because he's usually not that good.
I think it's a great cover. I
Yeah,
love
that's
it.
good. Articulation of the legs of the,
Yeah, the horse
horse.
is great.
Like Goliath and Hawkeye are in trouble, man. They're falling.
Mm-hmm. And Black Knight
They
don't
fall
give a
off the back of the
dang.
horse.
Yeah, George. Yeah, this is
Very
George.
decent grade too. But
Cover and art. Yeah, right. Not bad.
yeah, very. Especially that white cover is so hard to keep clean like that.
Yeah.
White pages, baby.
Mhm.
Has it been pressed or cleaned?
I don't think so. Actually, I don't know. I bought it slab.
So you could crack it and maybe get a even higher bump.
Oh, I'm not a gambling man. Miracle. It might come back low.
Hey, you gotta let it breathe, right?
Let it breathe.
It's like a fine wine. Well, gentlemen, as you know, I've been taking a little bit, backstepping a little bit on the channel. Haven't been having as much content, but I still have a lot more rolling out. I just recently released my review of Child's Play, and I'm going to be doing the whole series, so stay tuned for those. I'll try to do one a week. Can't promise it's going to get done, but we'll see. Chucky & Co. will be seen as reviews. Still have to do with the rest of my Star Trek Next Generation for Jackson Roykirk, at least season 1. I've got to get this one done. It's a painful process in season 1. Is what it is. I got some more of the TV music reviews, theme songs coming up here shortly. Thought about getting back in my music reviews, but I got to start dialing something back. So that might be still on siesta for a little bit longer. And what else do we got going on? And of course, the gaming channel is still ticking up subs. I got like 84, 85 subs in that thing already. It's crazy. I'm barely doing anything over there too. So
What
I
is
guess
it,
they
on
like
the
that
gaming
stuff better.
channel?
Yeah, I have a gaming channel. It's all on Marvel Strike Force right now, though. So
Oh, could you put a? You should put a link in the chat. I don't think I'm subscribed to it.
what sorcery is this? Well, I can see if we can find it real quick here.
Yeah, I'm going to. And let the
Yeah,
good
I
people in
don't
the
think I
chat
am
know.
either.
I don't know. Can I do that in my own chat? Let's see here.
Yes,
Yeah.
you can do that in your own chat.
No.
As long as you
I'm
get
being
the
facetious.
you're good.
In this chat.
And it has to do with Marvel at the very least, if not
Yeah.
not the comics. I do bring up some comic stuff in there because most of these gamers are like MCU babies who have never heard this, and I know the developers know nothing about MCU, so sometimes I'll throw a comic in there, or I could put a little background on the character, what little I know, So here is my channel. Yes, I'll be doing Friday Night Hangouts tomorrow night, so we'll see you all there with me and my friend Jay. Captain Comics coming in late. How's it going?
I'd like to figure out how to stream this Ultimate Alliance game on YouTube.
Is it the PS3 game?
I have a Nintendo Switch,
Mm,
so it's like it doesn't have that stream button like PlayStation does.
I know. I want to get a video card that will do that because there's a lot of retro games I want to play too. So that would be kind of cool.
SNES is built into this, so I could stream retro stuff too. But
Well, The link in the chat is my gaming channel if you want to throw a sub over there, if you're interested in that kind of content. But yeah, so we're going to go ahead and wrap this show up. So it's been a great show, everyone. And once again, next week, in 2 weeks' time on Metarogs. I'm doing everything wrong today. Miracles channel, we're going to be doing G.I. Joe number 34, some Larry Hama goodness there. Mike Zeck cover with John Beatty inks. So good times will be had by all. So great American hero notwithstanding. Appreciate everyone in the chat for hanging with us tonight, for throwing all those great grades out there, and just being generally the best chat in the business. And we will see you guys in 2 weeks on Miracles channel. So until next time, guys, stay safe and keep on collecting.
Amen.